I mean, later on, I realized, okay, the differential it's the radius growing larger, and it makes the perfect thing. You don't have to have a pump that pumps fuel in like you get the same effect that it goes because as it's going up, as it's burning a bigger and bigger area as it goes up, as it does its little burning thing. And it made it was a very spectacular kind of a thing. And the first person, the official person to watch it, was a cop. And because at first when we started, we were doing it in our backyard, and we had neighbors. And apparently one of them notified the local constabulary that there was somebody setting off rockets that could fall on their house, which we had taken that into account. We knew that we didn't want to fire it toward anything, but we were sitting out in the backyard we had just about to light the fuse, and this cop just sort of wandered up and he was looking at it. And this is the nature of it's like these days, that would get you arrested quickly. We'd have been handcuffs, drugged, No, it wasn't that way then. It was patriotic, what we were doing. We were trying to catch up with the Russians. And so the cop just he looked at it, and the guy, Jimmy Papadil was his name, one of my friends who was lighting the fuse, wasn't facing toward where the cop was coming from. We were sitting back away watching, and we saw him, and we said, "Jimmy, no, don't." And he didn't understand why, and he went ahead and lit the fuse. And the cop just sort of watched it, and this time it went, it was a nice, fairly good, that was when we were still using the aluminum, and it wasn't quite as impressive as later. But the cop was impressed, and it went up way over the houses and everything. And so he kind of encouraged us to say, doesn't one of you have a driver's license? And you can drive this thing out of town? Because, he explained to us that there was an abandoned sand pit about 10 miles outside of Columbia that he thought it would make a good rocket range. And so that was a very helpful cop. And so we did. And so as the rockets got bigger, and then the frogs got involved. We made the little chamber for the frogs and shielded it with all kind of stuff so that the frog would, at the very end, see, if you have the hole up through there, it builds up its pressure inside the tube, and then it starts burning through the plug, which is the fuel that's been poured into the very top of the rocket. And as soon as it gets through there, then it blows the pressure, whatever left pressure is left in the tube. It now blows out. That blows out the nose cone. That would blow out there was between the nose cone and the frog, there was a bunch of padding. You put ground up balsa wood in there, and then right on the top of the frog's little chamber, to protect him from the heat, there'd be a bunch of this little asbestos kind of stuff ground up in there, and then it would have a little red parachute to bring him back, because the rocket would fall wherever it fell, and it usually would bury itself in the sand pit. By the time we got down to the sand pit, the rocket would fall and go all the way into the sand and just leave the fins kind of sticking out. And if we were lucky, they didn't get bent, because we could use it again. So that actually put a frog up. What I calculated, I said, how do we know how far this is going? And so we could measure how far it was from where we were standing with our little hard hats on, by the way. And we did not worry about blowing our eyes out by then, because my mother was back home, not in the window watching us. And so we thought that would be silly to wear safety glasses or something like that. And because we were going to be some little distance from this, because we had the luxury of dynamite fuse. We estimated the height of the thing by saying, when you can see the red parachute, because the thing actually goes out of sight, and you see the red parachute, we'll know how high that is if we have this little protractor attached to a pointer on a little tripod, which he had made. So he pointed up and said, okay, there's where I saw the thing the first time. Assuming that it's right above where it took off, this is how you can do it with trigonometry. You can determine how high the thing went. And I said, when I see it, it's 2 miles high. And Buzz, one of my friends, Buzz, his dad was a pilot. He had a little Cessna. And he said, that thing, you don't send something up 2 miles up there. And I said, yeah, I said, when I see it, I don't know how high it goes, but when I first see it, I've measured it a couple of times now. It's about 2 miles high. So he flew over our sand pit one day, a little too low for safety, because he didn't realize this thing was going to go past him at a rapid clip. So we don't know if it went 2.5 or 3 miles, but it passed him at 2. And it was, and the frog, miraculously, the frog survived. I mean, the very first, one time,